Hello again, everyone, and welcome to another edition of This Week in the World of Football. This is episode number 331 for January 16th, 2024. I'm your host, Randy Snow. On this week's show, the college and pro football coaching carousels are in full swing. Philadelphia Eagles longtime center Jason Kelce is retiring, and the Detroit Lions won their first playoff game in over 30 years, and we were there to see it firsthand. But I'm not here by myself. Across the table from me is my son Adam.
Yep, let's not bury the lead. We were there. It was a great experience. I'm sure we'll talk about it a little more. Kyle and I already talked about it on Just Lying Around, and I'm working on a video that I took video of during the game. So
it was an incredible experience.
Yeah,
I'm going to say I was reluctant to go. I was reluctant to dish out that kind of money for a playoff game, but we did. I got talked into it, and I'm glad we went, and it was phenomenal.
And let's hope that it's not another 331 podcast before the next playoff one, which we had to wait even longer. I mean, we had to wait a long time even before we started, this podcast. Right. But man, it took 331 episodes, but we finally got to see a playoff win.
Hey, I was gonna be happy sitting at home watching it, but you guys saw it. This is historic. We need to be there. I'm glad we were there.
It was one of those things where if I learned anything as a kid, you did this to us. And I'm dealing with this right now with my girlfriend's kid. Is they don't want to do something. You're going to enjoy it. I'm going to tell you right now, you will enjoy it. They fight you tooth and nail, and at the end of the movie, she goes, "Oh yeah, that was a good movie." It's like I tried telling you, or in your case, "Oh yeah, I'm glad we did that." And same thing happened when I was a kid to you. I tell you, I don't want to go do this thing. You're like, you're gonna have a good time, and I usually did.
Well, yeah, this was a good time. It was definitely a great.
Maybe not so much for Kyle. He got the raw end of the deal, sitting next to some really bad fans.
Yeah.
That man, you're gonna get those every once in a while.
Yeah, you can't get away from that sometimes.
But I mean, I think at the end of the day, he was glad to still be there.
Yeah, the guy in front of me was driving me crazy too.
Yeah, there's a lot.
He was friends with people sitting right behind us, so they were constantly turning around and looking, towards us and talking and high-fiving. And
I mean, look, it is what it is. It didn't ruin the game experience for me, but it's just, I mean, the main thing was we got to see something that we never thought we'd see.
It was a very special
and
event.
I'm sure we'll talk about it some more when we get to it. So.
We come to you each week from the fabulous World of Football Man Cave, located right here in the center of the football world, Kalamazoo, Michigan. We're here to promote the game of football in all its many forms, past, present, and future. Our goal is to educate, inform, and entertain our listeners with the glorious buffet that is the world of football. All this while keeping a close eye on the rich history of the game. Thanks for checking out our podcast. We'd love to get your feedback on one of our many platforms: Apple Podcasts, SoundCloud, TuneIn, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and Amazon Music. So you can simply ask your Alexa device to play the World of Football podcast. We also have timestamps down in the descriptions of both the podcast and the YouTube channel, or videos, so you can go right to the topics that you really want to listen to. You can also find our podcast in its full audio form on our YouTube channel. Just search for The World of Football Kalamazoo or use the handle @The World of Football in the YouTube search bar. You will also find other selected videos on our YouTube channel, like Just Lying Around, a Detroit Lions podcast featuring Adam and Kyle. This week was the review of the playoff game we went to with some of their experiences. And
just talk about that game in general. So if you want a little different perspective, Kyle, talked quite a bit. I usually sit back and let Kyle try to talk. I try to.
It's tough for you to let other people talk.
It is. I know it's weird. You think I'd be used to it doing this with you, but it's just I don't like dead air. So like the moment I see a gap, you just gotta take it.
And we also have our NFL picks video. We've got another video coming out for week 2 of the playoffs.
Oh, come on, week 2. It's called the divisional round.
Well,
Why can't you say it right? It's
week
the divisional round.
The second round of the playoffs.
The divisional round of the playoffs is what it's called.
Whatever. Week 2. All right, so let's begin today's show. And we're going to begin with Adam, and we start in the NFL.
Yep. So we're going to, only real scores going around in the NFL. Happens to be Super Wild Card Weekend. They added the Super when they added the extra games.
Yeah.
And I'm going to tell you right now, because of what happened in Buffalo, they had weather.
Right.
The Buffalo game was supposed to be played on Sunday at 1, ended up getting pushed to Monday at 4:30. I think the NFL, I just want to start off, I think the NFL goes to this format: 2 games Saturday, 2 games Sunday,
Yeah,
2 games Monday.
yeah,
While a lot of us love the 3 games on Saturday, I mean, and there's no such thing as too much football. I think it just worked out this year that, you know what? Having 2 games each day, a doubleheader, I think is going to serve the league a little better than having 3 games on a Saturday.
yeah. I think
And I think
so.
it's better for the teams too. Like a little later start lets people, who have
Yeah.
to work weekends, at least you can maybe get home in time to watch one of the games or both games in the
Yeah.
evening.
Well, this last Monday was Martin
Martin
Luther
Luther
King Day,
King, yep.
so a lot of government employees had the day off.
So that ended up
Businesses were
that
closed,
worked out a lot.
so that it worked for a lot of people. Not for everybody,
Yeah,
but it worked out for a lot of people. Maybe next year it might not fall on
true.
Martin Luther King Day. Who knows? But it did work out this year, and I do think that's a good format: two, two, and two.
I do like that. So um, let's start off Saturday. There were 2 games that ended up being played. The first game, the Houston Texans defeat the Cleveland Browns 45-14. The 4th seed Texans, and the 5 seed Browns. Um, a blowout that I didn't see coming.
No, no,
I think the Browns were favored in that game.
I
I
think
can't
so.
remember,
I
even though they were the lower seed. I think everybody kind of
and
favored
they were
that
on the
defense.
road. Yeah.
But watching that game for when I did, Joe Flacco just throwing a couple of really crucial pick sixes there that just turned the tide. CJ Stroud having one of the greatest playoff performances of a rookie's career. And we're going to talk about another rookie who did just as good a little bit later. But how about the rookie showing up? That Texans team, what a turnaround for them. I think D'Amico Ryan is a near shoe-in now for coach of the year. It's him, Stefanski, not Stefanski, the coach here Kevin Stefanski. Sorry, Kevin Stefanski for the Browns was a candidate, I think, and Dan Campbell, I think, is certainly a candidate for coach of the year. And now I think it comes down to Dan Campbell and D'Amico Ryan for I think should be coach of the year.
Hmm.
Any thoughts from this game from you?
No, like I said, it was a surprise. I'm surprised that the Texans beat them so badly.
Yeah,
You know, I thought if it was a close game, either team could have won. I didn't put much faith in the Texans because they were in like a three-way tie for who was going to win that division, and they were all only had like 9 wins or something like that. So they didn't even know till the last minute they were the division champs or
right.
the whatever.
Yeah.
So so I didn't put much faith in them. I just thought the Browns were really hitting on all cylinders, and man, I I did not expect them to lose that badly.
Yeah, I mean, this whole weekend it just feels like it was blowout city,
Yeah.
except for 2 games technically weren't blowouts. One game was probably the most entertaining out of all of them, but we'll get to that one. Then we're gonna move to Saturday night. The Chiefs defeating the Dolphins at home in negative weather. Looked
It
cold.
was hard to watch it because we've got the same kind of weather outside right now here. And so I know, how cold that feels because all I had to do was walk outside my door and I could have felt, with a certain measure of certainty that, yeah, this is what the fans are sitting in this, the guys are playing in this.
See, that I didn't think that's where you were going with it when you said it was hard to watch. I thought you were gonna say it was hard to watch because you don't have Peacock, so you couldn't watch the
I didn't.
the
That's right.
exclusive
I
game.
did not watch this game. I watched the highlights, but the highlights I could see it looked really cold. But no, and that's my issue with this thing. I don't like it being only on a streaming service.
Yep.
I'm
Anyway, the final score: Chiefs 26, Dolphins 7. Um, yeah, the streaming service angle of it, I guess we could talk about a little bit. I didn't realize. I guess NBC is a struggling network, so a lot of these networks that are struggling, they're putting all their eggs in these streaming baskets. So I don't know if they went to the NFL and just begged them, please let us put it on our streaming service to try to boost our numbers. And I'm sorry, I don't know. I've been talking to my girlfriend about this. It's like, I don't know why. Like, even though I have Peacock, I already had Peacock before
right.
this whole thing, before I realized there was going to be an exclusive game on here. But I think it is a good service. But if you're an average fan and, these streaming services, you add them all up, it's expensive.
Oh yeah,
But I think to have this on an exclusive, it doesn't make sense. And a lot of people didn't get to see the game because they don't have Peacock. And if
right,
you're NBC, okay, sure, your numbers spiked for a month, but guess what? As soon as people hit subscribe, unsubscribe,
right.
and then you have the service for a month, and then you stop getting billed. And then they also did have a special package, though. They were trying to lure people for the year with like it was like a $30 for the year to lure people into this streaming service. So
Right.
I don't know. Coming from my media, side, my pop culture side, the streaming services aren't what they're all cracked up to be. I think they thought that it was the golden goose,
Right.
and it's definitely not that. These streaming services are definitely not that. That they've been learning, but I don't know. Hopefully, this is the one and done with the stupid exclusive. Look, regular season games, I get it. Like we had all the Amazon games. I think those were great, but a lot of people have Amazon Prime,
Right.
so they automatically get the Prime Video.
Right.
But a Peacock, something like if they
Yep.
were to put a game on Netflix or even like Disney Plus had the Toy Story game, unless you have a gimmick like that, I don't see why you put it as an exclusive.
Well, because NBC owns Peacock.
Well,
That's their
yes.
streaming service, but it's not one of the more popular streaming services. Like you said, everybody's got Hulu, everybody's got Netflix, um, everybody's got some of the other ones, Amazon Prime. But Peacock is just one that people just don't. It's not as popular as the other ones.
No, it's a fairly new one, but I mean,
So I can see why NBC wants to push that because that's their product. They want to increase
I
it.
get it. I mean, and simulcasting though, like all the other, you see all the other networks simulcasting. CBS has got the Paramount Plus
Yep.
simulcast, which work. There's some people, I get it. It works for them. I have YouTube TV, so I can still get all the games regularly, other than that Peacock exclusive game. It just reeked of desperation and like a 1 month hit for like hitting your first quarter numbers of the year if you're NBC.
So
Like
I'm fine with a simulcast. Some people would
yeah.
prefer, they have all these streaming services. They don't have a satellite dish like I do or cable, so they're into all the streaming services. And so that's an option for them. But for folks like me, I got a few of them, but not all of them streaming services.
And when you're the NFL and you're doing it is your postseason,
right,
where the most eyeballs are going to be on these games because you know what? Even an average fan is going to be like, look, I'm not a fan of the Dolphins. I'm not a fan of the Chiefs. But by gosh, it's playoff football, and I will sit down and watch. And oh wait, it's not on TV. Guess I'm not watching it. Like, look at you. I know you do a podcast. You have the YouTube channel. You don't watch every game, but I'm sure if this game was on regular TV, you might have scrolled past it. You might have checked in a little bit.
right.
But you're not going to pay however much, $6.99, $7, which isn't much. I get it. But for one game, you're going to pay that money to watch a football game that you normally would have gotten for free on a network. Like, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, I was checking out some of the highlights on SportsCenter the next morning, and right at the top of SportsCenter, it was the one from right after the game, and Linda Cohn is on there. She's been there forever. I like her, and she basically says, for all of you who were too cheap to plunk down $5.99 to watch this game, we've got all the highlights for you for free. So I thought that was really good that she said that.
Yeah, and I don't know. Unless the NFL partners with a specific streaming thing outside of Amazon to do these games, I just don't see the benefit of this.
Simulcasting is fine.
Simulcast, I think that works. You have your main
get it
network
on
and
the
you have your
broadcast
streaming
networks.
service. Yeah. And I think luring people to that too, saying, hey, look, if you are watching the TV, you're watching the game on NBC or CBS or whatever, and they're like, oh, hey, by the way, we're on our streaming service. You can watch the same broadcast, but you get some cool features like, oh, you get like a stat tracker, or maybe like what Amazon kind of does. You can get a couple of options when you stream a game differently than watching it on live TV, which that is different than just forcing a fan base to, buy a streaming service to watch one game. All those poor Swifties that had to buy Peacock just to watch Taylor Swift's boyfriend play a football game.
Whatever.
Anyway, all right, let's move on to Sunday. Another blowout that we caught quite a bit of, but we weren't at this game. The Green Bay Packers defeating the Dallas Cowboys 48-32, and that final score does not even begin to relate how much of a blowout this game was.
Wasn't it 27-0?
It was 27-0 at one point before the Cowboys scored a touchdown right before the half. We started watching this game at the hotel. Then we caught it in the stadium where, by God, I don't think I've ever heard that many Lions fans cheering for the Packers in my life.
Ford Field.
At Ford Field, as every time the Packers would score or the Cowboys would do something, people would cheer.
They kept showing the score, the latest touchdown highlight, and people just went crazy.
It was a mix of, because we do hate the Dallas Cowboys. I think even though the Packers are our division rival and we hate them too, nothing makes America smile more than seeing the Cowboys just get embarrassed and choke in the playoffs.
The enemy of my enemy is my friend.
Yes. And, if I were to rank the teams I hate, it probably would go Packers at the bottom, or sorry, Cowboys at the very, very bottom, Packers just on top because I have a little bit of respect for the Packers organization, not so much the
I
Cowboys
like their
anymore.
history.
Yeah, you like their history.
And I used to like the Cowboys when Tom
Yeah.
Landry was there, and then Jerry Jones fired him, so I don't like the
Yeah,
Cowboys
so
anymore.
if the Jerry Jones era of Cowboys, I don't like. I'm
No.
sure if we got a different owner or a different set of people in there, maybe I'd be like, you know what, Cowboys aren't bad.
Right.
I just don't like them. Packers, I like Jordan Love, their quarterback. Seems like a quiet, good dude.
I don't like him.
Yeah, I mean, you don't like him because he beat us, but I don't like Matt LaFleur. I don't like the coach of the Packers. But I'll give the Packers this: they came in as the 7th seed, the first 7th seed in postseason history since they came to this format to win. So we are in uncharted waters now with a 7th seed advancing.
Right.
Anything else from this Packers Cowboys game? I'm surprised Mike McCarthy hasn't been fired yet. I'm like eagerly
Yeah.
looking at my phone for
I'm surprised too.
an update. We thought we kept joking by noon Monday we're gonna hear
I
something,
figured by noon the day after the game he was going to be gone.
but they're clearly having discussions.
yeah.
All right, now the game we were at Sunday. The Detroit Lions defeated the Los Angeles Rams for their first playoff victory since January 5th, 1992. We've been hearing the story on repeat for a week on end, for years on end, and it finally happened. But it happened in the most storybook way I think it could have gone down for the Detroit franchise. The final score, by the way, 24-23. It was a close game.
It does make you think that maybe it is scripted.
Do you think it is scripted?
Because
it does make
this
you.
was perfect.
There needs to, okay. You need to start an X-Files type series, but it's about football conspiracies.
Oh man,
There you go.
I got a bunch.
The
of them.
Pigskin Files, or something like that.
P files.
The P.
for
No,
pigskin.
that could be very misleading, and you might get some people clicking on that you don't want clicking on.
The XP files.
Let's not even any of those letters. Let's not use those. But anyway, yeah, the storybook couldn't have been written more perfectly, and you got to love it when sports just churns out, intentionally or not. There's no way I think that this was rigged. How could you rig it for weeks on end to end up in this result? But just the fact that we figured this could be a possibility. I didn't know if it would really happen. I was like, well, it might be cool if. Maybe I don't want this to happen.
If we had beaten the Cowboys, this might not have happened.
Yeah,
so
that's true.
Therefore, there's your conspiracy right there. They made sure that we lost that game so that this other game would happen.
Maybe. There you go. Start writing your pilot for your P files.
I'm gonna get my aluminum foil hat. I got it on here somewhere.
Yeah, but yeah, Matthew Stafford coming back to Detroit for the first time in Detroit's first home playoff game is what are the statistics on that had to have been astronomical. The odds of that happening,
Something that he was never able to do was win a playoff game
or
at
even
home.
play in a playoff game in Detroit.
Yeah.
So to have the Staffords come back, I know Kelly's become a story too, and Matt coming back's a story. A lot of Lions Rams connections to this game.
Right.
But I think people also forgetting. I think the mainstream media, it's Matthew Stafford's return to Detroit, and then in the little subtitle, and Jared Goff playing against his old team.
Yeah.
And we were kind of like, it was torn. It's 50-50. Yeah, Jared Goff going up against the exact staff he was a part of. A lot of the organization and players over there, guys he played with. So, it was a Jared Goff revenge game equally as much as a Matthew Stafford return. Right. Being at the game, let's start with the game itself. If you want to go into your experience, because I already did that on the other show, I'll let you go off. But game-wise, the Lions did what they needed to do to win that game. They opened up with 3 straight 75-yard touchdown drives to start the game, which essentially was the difference maker.
Mm-hmm.
And then that first drive for the Rams where we held them to a field goal, difference maker. The officiating, again, not great. The Lions, got kind of screwed in the first half, I think, officiating-wise.
No call on a hit out of bounds.
There was a no hit out of bounds, which everybody seems to be forgetting. The what I hear people complaining about, which I get it, Rams fans, and we'll talk about that in a second. But in the first half that I've heard none of the big people talk about is the hit out of bounds that should have been called, and the offsides or the false start on the Lions that was technically an encroachment.
Yeah.
That didn't get called, that would have become a first down, and
right.
Detroit probably could have gone down and at least have gotten a field goal on that drive.
Right.
So it would have changed the complexion at the end of that first half. But instead, it ended up being like the Lions had to stall out and punted. But then in the second half, different game. The Rams defense stepped up, held the Lions to only one field goal the whole second half.
Mm.
Lions held the Rams to 2 field goals. So there was no touchdowns in the second half, which blew my mind when I realized
I
this.
didn't even realize that.
Yeah, I didn't even realize the Lions hadn't, gone down and scored other than the one field goal. But the Rams made their adjustments. Matthew Stafford, let's give him the love.
Oh yeah, he was phenomenal.
I mean,
we couldn't get close to him.
we booed the crap out of him. We did everything, as much as we respected him, we came into that game saying, look, he's the enemy quarterback and he will be treated as such. But you got to admit, the dude balled out.
Mhm.
He took some hits, some stuff I didn't even realize happened during the game. Because when we were at the game, I didn't know he had his hand taped up.
Right, yeah, I didn't see the bloody hand. Thing.
We saw him go into the tent after that one hit,
Right.
and we were like, okay, I guess he's fine. Maybe it was just
Yeah,
precautionary.
I didn't see what happened.
Till we saw the replay, we're like, yikes! I don't know if he even should have gone back in the game.
His
the way
eyes
he
were
looked.
rolled back. It reminded me of Tua Tagovailoa, with his fingers
Yeah.
last year. But I mean, his fingers weren't.
No,
doing
his
that.
fingers never
but,
got to
but
that
his
point.
eyes were like rolled back in his head and
for
he
a
looked,
second.
he looked terrible
it
there.
It looked scary, and yeah, maybe it's because it was slow mo, but it was still like, dang, like that was one of the calls that people said didn't get called, which I don't know. Watching it live in the stadium, it seemed like a bang bang play.
Right.
I don't know. They've been ticky tack with the roughing the passer stuff. Like you just lightly graze a quarterback, they'll throw a flag.
Right.
But then here, he actually takes a hit and they don't throw anything. I don't know if that's hometown
I don't know.
referee bias. I don't know. But I'll give you that. That could have been, and I see where it could have been, a penalty, Rams fans. The other one being towards the end of the game, a throw to Puka Nacua, who had a guy draped all over him.
Yeah.
And look, live, I'm not going to lie. I didn't see it. I thought it was another bang bang. But you slow it down, yeah, you see him grabbing the jersey. But I think for the most part, there was no pass interferences called during that game. There might have been one. I think it was like a holding on the defense against the Lions at one point during the game. But for the most part, it seemed like they let those players just play.
Yeah.
So I'll give the refs that. But you know what, Rams fans, I'll give you maybe it should have been pass interference, but you got to give us the stuff in the first half. So it was, I'd say all things are kind of equal.
Yeah, it kind of evened out. There were a couple that we could have been called and a couple that they could have been called, which weren't
but I want to say the big deciding factor, I know we're going long here on the Lions game, but my last thoughts here is also you got to give a little credit to the Lions fans because we showed up, we were loud, and in the second half it really made a difference because they got a big they made Stafford call a timeout at one point, and I think they had to do it again. There was a second point where they took another timeout because the crowd noise was just so loud that they almost couldn't get a play off. Yeah. And missing those two timeouts at the end of the game when the Lions got the ball back with 4 minutes left,
we were able
made
to
the difference.
Control the clock because of that. They couldn't stop it.
Yep, because after the 2-minute warning, the Rams called the timeout, and all the Lions had to do was get a first down, and it was 3 kneels and game over.
Yep.
So I think the Lions did what they had to do. It wasn't a perfect game. It was a close game.
Yeah.
But it was probably the game that people wanted. I mean, it shaped up the way that was probably the most entertaining game of the weekend.
The way people were chanting Jared Goff several times during the game.
Oh, I got you on video doing that.
And the screaming and stuff was so loud at the very beginning of the game. It really did hurt my ears. I mean, it was like somebody was jabbing something in my ear. That's how bad it was. And there were several other times when you could feel the floor moving underneath you. It's like people were jumping, up and down, and you could feel the cement floor vibrating or going up and down. That was so weird. I don't think I've ever experienced that in Ford Field before. And it had to be weird for Stafford. I mean, he's played in the stadium, but when he's the quarterback, the crowd is not screaming while he's out there. So he wasn't used to this crowd being noisy for him. And so I knew that was going to be a bit of a problem, but he
weathered
okay.
it. Like I said, those 2 times that it got to him were crucial.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't, every play. It was a couple of really crucial moments where I'm sure they had some certain play that maybe took a little longer than they'd like to have gotten dialed in. And it just 5 seconds I saw on the clock and I see Stafford looking around and he just gets up and calls a timeout. And that was the crowd. Like it was, it was a difference maker. And you always hear about like the 12th man in Seattle. Crowds make a difference. And when you have a good product here in Detroit, Ford Field becomes one of the craziest, loudest environments. And we saw it I know it's just one playoff game.
Right.
But I can't imagine what next week's going to be like. Oh, now we have a playoff game under our belt. Oh, we got another home game.
Yep.
We have the
Do it
NFC
again.
Championship game on the line here. Like we win, we go to a championship game.
Yeah.
You got to bet if that crowd isn't as or louder than it was this past week, it'll be darn close.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's hard to have 2 weeks straight of just bottled up, just like we've been waiting 30 years for this. All right, well, guess what? That was last week.
Yeah.
We got it. So next is we are in uncharted waters. We are a game from the NFC Championship. We are 2 games from the Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, I would love to be at that next game. Ticket prices are just absolutely insane.
Yeah, we made our one big expensive trip with the hotel, the parking, the tickets, the freezing temperatures. So
Yeah.
what did I say? As we were driving to Detroit,
It was like
the
-7
temperature
at one
said
point?
-1,
Oh, well.
and it got up to a balmy 10 degrees by the time we got to Detroit. And driving home yesterday, it was -4
Yeah.
on the drive home. So it was really, really cold. But yeah, this was an experience, and gates opened at 5:30. The game was not till 8:15,
And the
and we were
fan
there about 6.
and Dan
between
Campbell had a
6,
great
6:30.
quote about how he was out there an hour and a half before the kickoff for warm-ups, and the place was already humming. And
Yeah.
it was like, to be there, it was something special, and it's something I'm never going to forget.
Well, this is quickly going to become a venue where people don't want to come to play, especially in the playoffs.
Oh, now in the playoffs, especially, Detroit's they better knock down those ticket prices. But I mean, it was absolutely nuts.
Yeah.
And because we've been at games where the crowd gets,
Oh yeah.
as long as the Lions are playing good, the crowd's in
Right.
it all most of the game. But there was never a lull. Like usually, the other team scores a touchdown. It's like, oh no, well, we're going to go a few drives where the crowd really isn't into it because the other team's marching all the time. But this game, it was constant. I've never had it be that constant on defense. Even when the Lions were on the offense out there, it was still kind of loud.
Right.
And it was just like, okay, can we quiet down for the offense,
Right,
guys?
yeah.
Like, I get it. We're cheering for Lions and our Jared Goff chants and all that. And
The one thing I take away from that game is that we never trailed.
they did.
We scored the first touchdown. Were we up 14 nothing?
14-3.
Okay.
And then
yeah,
the Rams
14-3.
were always like a touchdown behind
Right,
after that because,
right.
yeah, they got the field goal the first drive.
Yep.
Lions went down to 14-3, 14-10, 21-10, 21-17. And then that was halftime. Then they go into the second half. Lions got the field goal 24 to
23.
17. Then the Rams got the 2 field goals to come up with a point.
Yeah.
And then after that, it was.
So it was a nail biter. We didn't want to give the ball back to Stafford with 4 minutes left, but I knew we could work the clock, and they only had the one timeout, so they had to be frugal with that. They couldn't use it any time. And when it got down to 2 minutes, I said, "Man, we're gonna."
I thought we
run
needed
this
2
clock
first
out."
downs at that point. But
I did too.
Aaron turned to me and goes, "No, they just have to kneel it after this." I was like, I was trying to do the math. I was just so all over the place, like emotionally, and just like looking around and just like, does that math add up? And it did. It worked out. Also, real quick, Sam Laporta, after that scary knee injury last week, he played, caught a 4th down touchdown, which was great. Give some love to our punter. Why am I blanking on our punter's name?
Shoot. Fox.
Yeah, Jack Fox. He booted a couple of beautiful punts.
60-yarder.
That went, got
really pinned them back there.
Fair caught at the 10, and those made some differences.
Yep.
So the Lions looked decent in all 3 phases at points. Obviously, the defense letting Stafford slinging around was not what we wanted. Puka Nacua having a rookie record day. Got to give him some love too. Puka Nacua. They shut down Cooper Kupp, but Puka Nacua still got his. Right. Which we figured. We figured one of those receivers are going to get theirs. Stafford's going to get his. But it's a matter of, can you stop him in the crucial moments? And first drive, stopping him for the field goal. And at the end of the game, making sure the Rams didn't have those 2 timeouts to get the ball back from Detroit, also crucial. So, all right. I know we could.
Well,
you
we
and
got
I.
more games to talk about. Let's gloss over these real quick.
Yeah. Okay. Monday night saw the Bills defeat the Steelers 31-17. that was the game that was moved from Sunday at 1:00 to Monday due to a snowstorm.
Those guys need a dome stadium there. I don't care what you say. I
You
mean,
need to talk to your Bills friends over there, and
well, they're all into it. They love their stadium, the open air stuff. But they've had to play games at Ford Field a couple of times because of
yeah,
weather, and this game almost was delayed another day. We were listening to a guy on the radio when we were driving. Was it driving home or driving over there? I can't
I
remember.
forget.
But yeah, he was saying that there was a driving ban in Buffalo, so the people that they were paying to clean out the stadium weren't allowed to get there unless they had to walk to the stadium, and it's 10 below zero or whatever. So the stadium getting cleared wasn't going as fast or as well as it should have been. So I don't care. They need a dome stadium there. They get
I
so much lake effect snow.
That's true. I don't know. I think they could do with a retractable dome.
Sure.
That'd
Yeah.
be cool.
Yeah.
But I don't know if they full on dome. I don't know. Maybe they just need a better tarp system to cover the stadium when they're
I don't
waiting.
know.
I don't know. But look, the Buffalo Bills, Josh Allen, kudos to him. The other story from this game, I mean, they led pretty good. The Steelers did kind of claw their way back, but the other story from this is Mike Tomlin walking away from the press conference after the
Oh yeah, I
game,
saw that.
after being asked about his future, and he just looked at that reporter and
Yep.
exit stage right or
Yep.
stage left,
Refused to answer.
stage right, I think. But it was still just like, I don't know what the Steelers organization is going to do. Mike Tomlin's a great coach.
There was talk he might take a year or two off
Yeah,
and
well,
then come back. I don't know if they
I
would
think that'd
allow
be a
that or...
mistake, but I mean, you got to do what you got to do. 17 straight years,
Yes,
he's done a phenomenal
incredible.
job.
That's
He's
an
a Hall of
incredible
Fame head
stat.
coach if I've ever seen one.
Sure.
So, but kudos to the Bills for getting it. And then finally, the Buccaneers defeated the Philadelphia Eagles 32-9 last night.
I can't believe the Eagles did not show up for that game.
It
I
was,
really thought that they would do something in the playoffs. Yeah, they've looked bad the last several weeks during the regular season, but I thought they had something left. They had nothing.
they started off 10-1, finished the year losing 5 of 6, including that playoff game. I don't know what happened in Philly. What's about to happen? Is Nick Sirianni going to lose his job? I don't like him either. I don't even like him as a coach, he just seems like I just don't like him. I don't get good vibes from him. But do they let him go and insert Bill Belichick to Eagles, Cowboy? We don't know yet. We're going to talk about the head coaching carousel. But for the Buccaneers, though, can we give some Baker Mayfield love? What a job he's done leading that team. And my favorite thing I saw was the video of him squirting the water bottle at one of his coaches. He pretended like he was going to squirt it in his mouth, then turn it just enough to squirt at one of his coaches. So look, Baker's having a good time down there in Tampa. And what a good story for them. They lose Tom Brady. They still get the division. They're a 9-18 going into the playoffs, and they beat the defending NFC, conference champions. So good for them. Unfortunately, as we look at the divisional round matchups, the Texans will travel to Baltimore on Saturday. The Packers will travel to San Francisco to play the 49ers. Both those home teams had the byes last week.
Right, yeah. Best records in the
Best
NFL.
records.
Go
So
49ers, I say.
Well, we'll see about that. And then Sunday, the Buccaneers will come up to Detroit.
Yep.
They saw each other earlier this season. And the Chiefs will travel to the Bills, a matchup that we see frequently in the playoffs. So
But this time it's at Buffalo.
in Buffalo. So these are a lot of tough games to pick because I could see even the Detroit game. I could see either of these teams winning. So these are 8.
It's getting hard to
good
predict
teams.
these games now because they're all battle tested and they're all hungry to get one step closer to a Super Bowl. So it's going to be hard to pick those.
So that is it for your scores. And Dad, let's go through what NFL news bites you put together.
All right, Seattle head coach Pete Carroll was fired or mutually agreed to.
It was a weird situation,
but he's still staying with the team as a consultant. So how can you fire somebody and ask him to stay around?
Yeah, I don't know. It had to have been a mutual thing to move him upstairs or whatever. But that's a weird thing. I was listening to sports talk going in today, and something I had heard that I don't know how true this is, but there's a shadow, and I think Pete Carroll alluded to somebody in the organization who didn't like him, and that's why this move happened. And the weird story is, and tinfoil hat time, Randy.
Okay.
So the old owner of the Seahawks had no heirs. The team now belongs to his sister, but he had a roommate in college that he went to school with that is kind of supposedly secretly running the team
Hmm.
because the sister's like hands off or something. This is the basic cliff notes I got from listening to this whack job on the sports radio this morning. Don't know how true this is. I don't know the guy's name,
Hmm.
and I think I even heard a Seahawks caller or somebody say I'm a Seahawks fan, and we didn't ever hear about this guy
Hmm.
till recently.
Hmm.
So there's some whispers that this guy behind the scenes,
Maybe he's trying to take over the team or
I don't know, that he's running the
calling the
team for
shots.
the
Yeah.
sister because he was friends with the original owner who passed, something like that. It just
Hmm.
add it to the P files.
Hmm.
But this, I don't know. But Pete Carroll, I mean, what a weird week. We lost Pete Carroll as a coach, where I thought this dude was going to stay in Seattle for a few more years because being at what 70, how old is he? He's 70 something.
Yeah, 71,
He's
72
still out there
maybe.
throwing passes with his team. He just looks as young as ever. Like
Yeah.
the dude hasn't really aged much, it looks like. And
Hmm.
I mean, shoot, I am just shocked by it. I think he deserves to still be a coach somewhere. So
Hmm.
we'll see what happens.
Yeah. And then the other big news was New England Patriots head coach Bill Belichick agreed to part ways with the team after 24 seasons and 6 Super Bowls. And I read somewhere that he has two more Super Bowls when he was a defensive coordinator with somebody. Um,
I'm not sure.
I can't remember. I was going to look that up again and I couldn't. But it seems like I saw it somewhere where they're talking about his resume. And he was a defensive coordinator, and won 2 Super Bowl rings because of that time. But regardless, I mean, whoever would have thought that Bill Belichick would not be with the New England Patriots? He's got one more year left on his contract. He's what 15 wins away from being the number one all-time winningest coach in the NFL behind Don Shula. So I think he wants to latch on with another team to get that record. Hanging on another couple of years and win 15 games and get that record and be the top of the heap. So I mean, a lot of the rumors are from all the sports talk. Uh, So-called experts are saying that Dallas would be the best fit for him. If I were him, I would want to go someplace warm. Go to a Miami, go to a New Orleans with a dome stadium, go out to California. Uh, I would think he's tired of uh, wearing his hoodie in the snow, coaching games and
Well, we'll
whatnot.
see. The rumor is, he might be going to Atlanta.
Yeah,
That'll
he's
be
he's
interesting.
talked with them.
And the other two Super Bowls, yeah, he was with the Giants for Super Bowl 21 and 25. He
Okay,
was part of that staff. So
all
he's
right.
8-time Super Bowl champion, 3-time AP NFL Coach of the Year, Maxwell Club NFL Coach of the Year, NFL 2000s All Decade Team, 2010s All Decade Team, NFL 100th Anniversary All Time Team. Uh, and the list goes on and on. He won a PFWA Executive of the Year award. Uh,
Pro
he
Football Writers
he has the most
Association.
Super Bowl wins at 8, most Super Bowl wins as a head coach at 6, most Super Bowl appearances at 12, most Super Bowl appearances as a head coach at 9, most playoff wins as a head coach at 31, most playoff appearances as a head coach at 19. He's tied. And most divisional championships as a head coach, which is 17. He had a regular season record of 302 wins, 165 losses. Postseason, he was 31 and 13. So that's a total career of 331 victories,
We
178
get it. He's got
losses.
an impressive resume.
He does. And to for him to kind of have to maybe start over somewhere, it depends on where he lands. If he goes to an Atlanta, it's essentially, kind of a clean slate there, a lot of stuff he can
Well,
build
I'm
on.
sure it's going to be a place that he feels he can turn around right away. Not a let's tear everything down and build it up from the because that's going to take
If
years.
anything, he might need to find a place where it's the offense is set. Let's fix the defense because that's his specialty.
Right.
Clearly, he hasn't been able to get the offensive side right. Looking at what New England's done since Tom Brady left, but we'll see. It'll be fascinating. Whoever lands him,
Right. But
time will tell.
but on the other side, the Patriots have already named their new head coach, and it's their own linebackers coach, Gerard Mayo. And I guess that was in Belichick's contract that if and when he left, that Mayo would be
I guess they
his
talked to
heir
the league.
apparent.
They let the league know, and that's why they avoided the Rooney Rule and
Right.
the interviewing
They had to
process.
interview him, but they
Which,
just elevated him to head coach
yeah, so
for whatever reason. But yeah, at age 37, Mayo is now the youngest head coach in the NFL. He's a few months younger than
Sean
uh,
McVay.
Sean McVay. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, interesting that that's already taken care of. Uh, and then another story was that and I didn't really research this one, but I threw it down there. The Pro Football Hall of Fame is planning a couple of new exhibits on the history of the Browns and the Steelers,
Hmm.
which is fine. I don't know if they're like temporary, and they'll in a year they'll pop up a few other teams, history of the Lions and the Packers or something like that. I don't know, but it's always fun going to the Hall of Fame. It's always
Yeah.
something new to see. Um, there are some of the things that I'd like to go and see every time I'm there. The Hall of Busts and all that, but it seems like every time you go there, you see something different,
Yeah.
and it's always pretty cool. Let's see. Eagles center Jason Kelce, brother of Travis Kelce, is announcing his retirement. Let's see. He's been playing for 13 seasons from 2011 to 2023. His entire career has been with the Philadelphia Eagles, which is rare these
Yep.
days. And he won Super Bowl 52, so he's got his ring. He played 13 years.
He endured
One
himself
team
to that
man.
city. I
Yep.
mean, now he's got that big podcast, so it seems like an easy out for him.
Now he can make more commercials with his brother. And
I thought you were gonna say now he can go sit with Taylor Swift in the booth
yeah,
or up in the suite and
if he
watch
wants
Travis
to.
play. I saw that meme where it's like now Jason can sit up there with Taylor during the games.
Oh boy.
But look, Jason Kelce just seems like a man's man. He's a man
Yeah.
of the people. The
Yeah.
people in Philadelphia love him. Uh, I'll always remember him for his wearing the Mardi Gras outfit during the Super Bowl parade.
Mm,
He had that big old like Sultan hat on and
yeah.
all the gypsy wear.
Yeah. Well, he hasn't. I mean, this just was announced. I think he's. It's not official. I think he's told his teammates
Yeah, and
he's
he
going to
and
retire.
he
So there'll
looked
be an official announcement maybe in a couple days or a week or
and
so.
he looked compromised on the sideline. He was tearing up talking to one of his coaches. So that's where I think everything kind of started, and it kind of leaked out from there that he's planning on retiring. So
What if we get into coaching?
I
Maybe
I
he'll
don't
be
know. I don't know if he's got interest in
a
that.
line coach for the
I
Eagles.
think right now the way his podcast is so popular, he's a good media personality. I would love to see like the Kelce brothers get a network gig. I think that would
Like
be
the
fun.
Manning brothers.
Maybe, but I mean more and more the traditional sense where I would love to just hear them, talk about a game. I mean, this might be the way that sports broadcasting is going to go. Is you got the Manning brothers gimmick, you're going to have the Kelce brothers gimmick. Watching a game and just hearing them be entertaining during a game, which works for some people in certain games, but I think they would just be good straight up. Just it's uh, you got Joe Buck, and instead of Troy Aikman, maybe you got a Jason Kelce there. That could be interesting. That's just an example. It doesn't have to be a Joe Buck, but you got your straight man, your
Right.
typical broadcaster who's gonna, take you through the game, and then you got your color commentary by a Kelce brother that I think would be pretty good. Go back to the 3-man Monday night games
Yeah. I
where
was just going to say
throw the
that.
2 Kelce brothers in there, or even just Jason. I think that would be entertaining. Have Jason Kelce with those two, Joe Buck and Troy Aikman. Oh man, I think that'd be must-watch television.
Yeah, Alex Karras was on the Monday Night Football for a while. He was just basically the comedy relief. You had your, I don't know if he was with Howard Cosell, but you've got your color commentator, you got your play-by-play guy, and then you got the other guy just to throw in a few laughs here and there.
And how much of this retirement came from the fact that I don't know if you watched this. I watched the tush push fail.
Oh yeah,
I saw that and I was like, yikes!
it's like one of the only times it's ever failed.
Yeah, I couldn't
But
believe
that
it
was
when
a
I
big
saw.
thing in that game.
Boy, that was a weird swing of momentum too, because the Eagles were like, "Oh, you had that false start. We're going for it at the 1-yard line. We're going to punch you in the face." And the Bucs said, "Nope." Even though they did get away with it, looked like somebody was pulling on Jalen Hurts' helmet. They got away with one.
Yeah, there
But
was a little grab of the face mask.
I saw that and I was like, well, yeah, no wonder Jason Kelce's retiring because the tush push finally failed.
Yeah. Well, speaking of other head coaching changes, we're going to move on to college football now. And man, there's so much going on in college. Alabama head coach Nick Saban has resigned after 17 seasons with the Crimson Tide, 7 national championships, and a record of 206-29 there.
One of the best to ever do it.
Did you see that graphic that I posted? It showed Belichick with all of his trophies and
I've seen that.
with
Yep.
it. Man, that's a lot of hardware for those
It's a
two
lot
guys.
of hardware. Yeah, I mean, and they coached on the same staff with the Browns back in the day. That picture floating around of them being on the sideline together.
Yep.
Just, I mean, we are witnessed now that we finally got to Nick Saban. We can say we've witnessed 3 great coaches in the span of 24 hours.
Yeah.
Just moved on for different reasons.
Yep.
One retiring, one mutually leaving, and whatever happened to Pete Carroll. Because Pete Carroll crushed it in college too.
Yeah.
He won national titles in college.
Well, he
Well,
kind of ran USC down where he had to get out of town or he was going to be under some
fair,
suspension or
but I mean,
something.
still, when you watch those games, though, that USC team was just built different.
Yeah.
Take all the scandal and stuff out. I know people say that puts a tarnish on his legacy, but like at a point, I'm like, players still got to play the game. Like, so I thought his USC teams were something else, and so he
Right.
got his national championships. He got a Super Bowl trophy. So he was one of the best to do it. To do it on two levels, you got to give the guy credit. It's just like a Jimmy
Sure.
Johnson.
Sure.
Nick Saban obviously didn't work in the NFL, but the fact that in college he won with was LSU. He won a national
He
championship
was
with.
with Miami, the Dolphins.
Well, he went to the Dolphins for a year, but he didn't do anything.
Right. Yeah.
I'm just
But
saying it didn't.
he did coach in the NFL, but
Yes,
yeah,
but it didn't work in the NFL. But so in college, he won two national championships with two different programs.
Right.
He's I'm fascinated by him just as like the way he kind of lives down there in uh, Tuscaloosa. You watch that Eli Manning
Right. Yeah.
Eli's Places.
Yep.
That episode, I think I watched that one, was fascinating the way Saban kind of runs things down there.
Too bad Saban couldn't have done that when he was at Michigan State.
Right?
Yeah,
That's
he was in training when he was at Michigan State. Then he goes to LSU. Then he goes to Alabama. So Michigan State got shorthanded there. But soon after he left, Kalen DeBoer is named the new head coach at Alabama, and he was just at the Washington Huskies. He was in the national championship game a week ago as the head coach, and he'd been there since 2021, and now all of a sudden he's the Alabama head coach. And when they first said the name, I thought, is he an assistant coach at Washington? No, he was the head coach.
That's the head guy.
Yeah.
Just lost the Natty.
Yeah. So then what do they do after that? Then Washington hires Arizona's head coach, Jed Fish, to replace DeBoer. So now somebody's going to have to fill, they're going to have to hire a new coach at Arizona. Are they going to grab another head coach from somebody else? And the domino effect just keeps on going.
That's how it
I don't
goes. Like
know.
the college coaching, the later in the year, that these big programs have to make these moves, the harder I think it is to get these coaches. So then you get this big move, like a couple years back when Mel Tucker first went to Michigan State. That's only because Michigan State's coach at the time, Mark D'Antonio, right? Mark D'Antonio. He just up and retired end of the season a little later than you probably would have liked if you were going to do a head coaching search. Because then at the last minute, you're like, crap, all the head coaching vacancies are filled up. Who are we going to get? So you got to lure somebody from another program.
Yeah, that was just before all the signing.
Yeah, it was like in mid-February. It was crazy.
Worst possible time.
Yes. So D'Antonio screwed that program.
Yep.
And then Mel Tucker screwed it even more with his antics, allegedly. But so this late in the game, that domino effect. It's crap, we need a head coach. All right, go get another big name coach. You lure him out of his job.
Right.
Then that leaves that program at Washington without a head coach. So then they go to another program, and it's a bad domino effect. But it's just the nature of the biz.
Yeah. And now all the talk is that Jim Harbaugh may be jumping to the NFL. I thought maybe we'd hear something before we started recording today, but supposedly he's hired an agent. After he went back to Michigan and took part in all the parades and the celebrations and the speeches, and now that things have settled down, he's hired an agent, and I guess he's back out in California talking to the Chargers.
You're talking to the Chargers.
So we'll see about that. But what I had to say about Harbaugh is that he received $3 million in bonuses after winning the national championship. It was by far the largest single season amount since USA Today Sports began tracking that sort of thing in 2019. Harbaugh's basic pay from Michigan this season was $8.2 million. He picked up $1 million for the Wolverines' win in last week's college football playoff title game, $500,000 for the team playing in the Big Ten Conference Championship game, and $1 million for winning the Big Ten title, and another $500,000 for being selected to play in the college football playoff semifinals. So I guess that was all stuff that was incentive in his contract or something.
So essentially 1.5 just to make and win, the Big Ten title and to make the playoff. Like that's crazy.
Well, I mean, it's only $1 million. I mean, he made
Only.
$8 million last year. I mean, he made 8 times that much just in his regular salary. So it's not like he got double the pay for the season. But still, it's a record. This set of bonuses was introduced into Harbaugh's contract with Michigan after the 2020 season, when he took about a 50% pay cut from his annual basic pay for the school from the school to $4 million after the Wolverines had gone 9-4 in 2019 and 2-4 in the pandemic-affected 2020 season. So yeah, he he took a pay cut, but he got it back and then some.
Yeah.
So we'll see if he actually jumps to the NFL. I mean, it sounds like he's going to. I thought that he's a Michigan man. I expected him to be there for the rest of his life, but
He's got a good thing at Michigan, but I
he
could
sure
see
does.
where this is the opportunity for him to do the Pete Carroll and go to the
Yeah.
NFL, get your Super Bowl, and prove that you could do it on both levels. Which
Yep,
he got close.
there are some maybe another fines and suspensions coming from the
Who
NCAA when they're done
knows?
with their
Who
investigation.
knows? I think that's
I
something
don't
he could
know.
weather at Michigan.
Yeah,
But I don't know. And maybe this interview stuff is just, you know what? Let's feel it out. Maybe the NFL isn't the best fit for me now at this point in my
and now
career.
they're going to have the 12-team playoffs, so they're like a shoe in almost every year to get into the playoffs and see what happens, after that. So
Right.
I don't know. And then the final AP poll, Associated Press poll, came out with obviously Michigan was number one, Washington two, Texas was three, Georgia four, Alabama and Florida State were tied at six, Oregon was eight, Missouri nine, Mississippi. I'm sorry,
Yeah, you got
I
that
messed that up.
backwards.
Uh,
Alabama was 5, and at number 6, Florida State and Oregon tied.
okay,
8 was Missouri, 9 Mississippi,
all
10
right,
Ohio State. And if you ask me, I know Ohio State got embarrassed in that bowl game. Ohio State should have been higher. They didn't play with any other guys.
right,
Georgia moving up makes a little bit of sense, but Alabama falling out of the top 4. Alabama was in that Michigan game, and they could have easily beaten Michigan, I think. So I don't see them being out of the top. I can't believe they're out of the top 4 after the way the season shook
right.
out. But I don't know.
That was a crazy.
The AP poll at this point, I don't care.
Yeah,
We already know who the best team was, and that's
right,
it. Michigan. They
right,
won it. Done. Second, there's no trophies for second or third or fourth or
right.
whatever.
Sure.
So why even bother?
Yeah, I know.
But yeah,
And finally, in college, here's a story you may not have heard about. Something called the Irreverent Bowl.
I've heard of it, but I don't know all the details.
A promoter by the name of Roy Engelbrecht wants to petition the NCAA for an event that he's calling the Irrelevant Bowl. Is it irrelevant or irrelevant?
I would say it's
Irreverent or irrelevant?
irreverent.
I thought it was irrelevant. I got it written both ways, so I'm not sure. It would feature the two worst teams in college football going head to head in a bowl game. He's saying, this is his quote: "No polls, no rankings, no controversy. Just two winless or near winless teams looking for redemption and one elusive win." Um, he said he's going to petition the NCAA, asking them to grant a waiver for 2024 so that two teams would be eligible to play in the inaugural Irrelevant Bowl. It is unlikely that the NCAA is going to agree to such a game. If they had it this year, I guess Vanderbilt and Akron would have played because they're two teams that both went 2-10. They had the worst records at the FBS level, um, and that's who would have played this year. But my question is, who would want to sponsor such a thing?
Some sort of divorce lawyer.
That was my first thought.
What?
But there used to be a game show called The Biggest Loser where these
Yeah.
people would lose weight and whoever lost the most weight would win. So, the Biggest Loser sponsors the Irreverent
What a
Bowl
time to
or
bring that
Irrelevant
show
Bowl.
back. Yeah. I don't know. I don't. I'm sure you could find
It's
it.
an interesting idea, but it's not going to happen.
It won't happen. I
No.
mean,
you want to forget your season when you're that bad and you're already looking
this
towards
isn't
next year.
this isn't fantasy football and where you got your toilet bowl. Like our fantasy league, we have what we call the toilet bowl, and you
Right.
get your name on the placard that's shaped like a toilet seat if you lose the game. It's not the consolation games and these type of things. It's fun for your fantasy league. It's not for collegiate and
Right.
professional sports. I'm sorry, consolation games should mean nothing. There shouldn't even be consolation. All these extra bowl games are just consolation games, and while some of the matchups are fun, the last few years they haven't been because players are sitting out.
There's too many bowl games.
And there's too many of them. So too many consolation games to begin with. And now you want to throw in this, where two downtrodden programs, all these kids are just like, man, we already had a tough season. Why we lose this one? It's even more embarrassing.
Yeah.
I mean, sure, the team that wins is
It's
we
great
got
for
to
the
win,
winner.
but like
The
it
loser
just
is even worse. I mean,
yeah, like and you want to
totally
shame
bad.
a bunch of kids like that?
Right? Yeah.
Like it's bad enough. Like I mean, that half the programs aren't even getting to the national championship consideration. Now
Right.
you're going to want to throw this one random one in where who knows? We just see is it just two MAC teams every year?
Yeah.
Is it two bottom Sun Belt teams or a couple of bad teams? Like I doubt you're going to see a Big Ten team or a
It would just be too
yeah.
humiliating. This is not gonna happen. But I just thought it was a funny concept that somebody's even proposing something like this. So
It's
bad idea.
it's fun in theory,
Yeah.
but it doesn't work.
No.
This is the kind of talk you sit around at the bar with people like talking sports. Like,
Hey,
wouldn't
what
it be cool if they did like a loser bowl?
my loser's better than your loser.
No, man, I'm telling you right now, those 2-10 Akron Zips would crush those 2-10 Vanderbilt, whatever their nickname is.
Commodores,
Oh,
named after the soul band.
gee.
All right, let's move on. Got a little bit of arena football news that came out this week. The Iowa Rampage have parted ways with head coach Brandon Henderson, and there were no specific reasons given for that.
And it was like the day after they did their little coaches show that he's on.
Yeah,
It was a very weird timing that this all went down.
yeah.
So who knows what's going on?
And I haven't heard if they've hired anybody yet.
They supposedly they got news coming soon. The last I saw, I just
Something's going on there. I don't know.
gee, maybe if they had a team in Grand Rapids instead of out in Iowa called the Rampage, this wouldn't happen. But look, I'm not gonna put I know stuff happens, and they're supposed to start up in April.
Right.
You got 3 months till the season starts.
Yeah.
I mean, they're still doing
late
player
too, yeah.
tryouts. So how much does this really affect your team? I don't know yet. I think it's a little too early to be worried that a head coaching change right now could make or break your team. I think, look, you're still doing tryouts. It's fine. You're still feeling out this organization, which you are starting from the ground up. It would probably would have been nice to have had a guy from the inception of this team, kind of guiding things. But I don't know. We'll see what happens. That just puts the Iowa Rampage at the bottom of our World of
Yeah.
Football Arena Football Power
Yeah.
Rankings when we start.
Not a
the
team I was
season.
going to go see play anyway.
Yeah.
So
they changed the name.
There are a couple I want to go see play, but
Yeah.
not the Rampage.
Not that Rampage.
not that
We want to see the
Rampage,
Rampage play,
The
but it's got to be
real
the Grand
Rampage.
Rapids
Yeah,
Rampage.
the real Rampage. Another story that came out this week: the AFL is also looking to put a team in Hawaii at some point. I don't know. It sounds fun, it'd be a great destination. But how many arena fans are going to fly to Hawaii to watch?
But,
a game,
I mean-
other than you and me,
We always like the idea of having a team in Hawaii, but it has never been realistic or feasible or cost. It's always cost prohibitive.
right? Yeah,
So I get it. It's like it's a fun. It would be probably a great place to have a team,
Right.
warm weather, but the travel and all that. It's unfortunate for the people of Hawaii to not have some sort of professional sports team
Yeah.
out there.
yeah.
But it's just,
Well, the World Football League in '74 and '75 had the Hawaiians.
and how
as
that
a team.
end up.
Well, they were there for the whole time that the league was there, and then the AF2 Arena Football 2 had the Hawaiian Islanders from 2002 to 2004. So I don't know. They're trying to secure a venue right now. That's where they're at. They're looking to secure a venue location to play their games, and they'll go from there. But
We'll see.
it'd be interesting. I mean, your mom's kind of wanted to go back to Hawaii because we haven't been there
And
since
you're
our
looking for an
honeymoon, so I'm like,
excuse.
hey, hon, you go lay on the beach. I'm gonna go watch a game.
Well, it just so happens that they got an arena football team in Hawaii. What a perfect set of circumstances for the two of us.
Yeah, she didn't think
You
that
just
through.
can't pony up a trip without having football involved,
Well,
can you?
a couple of years ago, she really wanted to go see the Georgia Aquarium, to go see the whale sharks they've got there.
How did you make that go in your favor?
I said, absolutely, hon, we can do that. Oh, by the way, the College Football Hall of Fame is just a few blocks away, so we'll take that into. And then she's like, darn it.
You are the king of by the way. Hey, I want to go down to this place in Ohio. Cool. Well, by the way, the Pro Football Hall of Fame is a half hour from that destination. Hey, I want to go out to North Dakota. Oh, by the way, there's this arena football team that's only playing an hour and a half northwest of here. Like, You
Hey,
always find
hey, we
something.
were we were down in Bowling Green, Kentucky, and we went up to Louisville, which is like an hour and a half, 2 hour drive to go see an Arena Football 2 game.
That's true.
Remember that?
I
The
do remember
Louisville
that.
Fire.
I do remember that. 1st and 10. That announcer, I'll never forget that announcer.
Was it 1st and 10? Did he
I would think
say?
it was like, oh no, it was incomplete.
Incomplete. Yeah, that's what that was
That's what it was.
his
All game
phrase. Yep.
long, that announcer.
Incomplete. All right, that's it for arena news. Birthdays today. Uh, Former coach Jim Caldwell turned 69 today. These are birthdays for January 16th. He was the head coach at Wake Forest from 93 to 2000. Head coach of the Indianapolis Colts from 2009 to 2011. Head coach of the Detroit Lions from 2014 to 2017. Assistant head coach and quarterbacks coach of the Miami Dolphins in 2019. Senior assistant with the Carolina Panthers in 2023, and he
He
just
also did
recently
some
got
stuff with the
okay.
AAF
Yeah,
and some of the
some of
other
the
spring
the startup
leagues.
leads. Yep,
Yeah.
yep, he was involved in that.
Good dude. I
Yeah,
mean, the Fords liked him.
yeah,
The Lions fans liked him, but
yeah,
it came to that plateau where we just didn't think he could get us to where we wanted this franchise to go, and then that brought in the dark days of Matt Patricia.
yeah, yeah. How'd that work out for us?
Yeah, I mean, look, I'll always like Jim Caldwell,
Right.
but I agreed.
He did nothing wrong when he was with Detroit.
No,
Other he led us what back to back
9 and 7 seasons at
9 and 7
least.
seasons. I mean, two
A
winning seasons,
couple playoff
and they let him
appearances.
go.
But I agreed with the thing at the time of letting him
Well,
go.
I
They just
thought,
hired the wrong coach after.
yeah, I thought they might have should have given him at least one more year to show what he could do. Two 9-7 records. Let's give him one more year, but they pulled the plug on that.
Yeah.
So anyway, so happy birthday, Jim Caldwell, and quarterback Joe Flacco
Ah,
turns 39 today. He's licking his wounds after that loss on Saturday. Um, he played college football at Pittsburgh and at Delaware. 18th overall pick in the 2008 NFL Draft by the Baltimore Ravens. Played in Baltimore from 2008 to 2018. Won Super Bowl 47 and was also named MVP of that Super Bowl. Played for the Denver Broncos in 2019, the Jets from 2020 to 2022, and then this year he was with the Cleveland Browns.
yeah, we just
Led him
popped
into the
in
playoffs
mid-season
and
and led him to the playoffs, and then he essentially
didn't
lost.
show up for the playoff game.
No, he showed up. He just threw the ball to the other team.
Oh. So that's it for birthdays. And then we have a few obituaries. There were a ton of obituaries this week. 10 or 11 that I was writing up before you got here. And I went with four of them. You know, we don't always put every obituary in here, but some of these deserve to be read on air. So the first one is a big one. Norm Snead, a quarterback in the NFL for 16 seasons, has passed away at the age of 84. Snead played college football at Wake Forest and was the second overall pick in the 1961 NFL Draft by the Washington Redskins. He was also selected in the fifth round of the 1961 American Football League Draft by the Buffalo Bills. He signed with the Redskins and played in Washington from 1961 to 1963. He also played for the Philadelphia Eagles from 64 to 70. I think that's where most people know him from. He played for the Minnesota Vikings in 71 and the New York Giants from 72 to 74. He was traded to the San Francisco 49ers during that 74 season and finished his playing career with the 49ers in 75 and 76. Snead was inducted into the Virginia Sports Hall of Fame in 1984.
Our next obituary is that of Sam Big Red Silas, a defensive tackle in the NFL and the World Football League, has passed away at the age of 83. Silas played college football at Southern Illinois and was selected in the sixth round of the 1963 American Football League draft by the Boston Patriots. However, he signed with the NFL's St. Louis Cardinals and played for the team from 1963 to 1967. He also played for the New York Giants in 1968 and then the San Francisco 49ers in 1969 and 1970. Silas finished his playing career with the Portland Storm of the World Football League in 1974.
Our next obituary is that of Burke Dales, a punter in the Canadian Football League for 9 seasons, has passed away at the age of 46. Cause of death was not immediately released. Dales played college football at Concordia University in Montreal, and he signed with the Calgary Stampeders in 2005 and played for the team for 7 seasons through 2011. He also played for the Edmonton Eskimos in 2012 and 2013. and he finished his playing career as a member of the Montreal Alouettes at the end of the 2013 season. His sister, Stacey Dales, is an NFL sideline reporter for the NFL Network.
Okay. And our final obituary this week is that of Jack Squirek. I hope I'm saying that right.
Yep, I think
A
so.
linebacker in the NFL for 5 seasons, has passed away at the age of 64. Squirek played college football at Illinois and was selected in the second round of the 1982 NFL draft by the Los Angeles Raiders. He played for the Raiders from 1982 to 1985. He ended up winning Super Bowl 18 with the Raiders. Squirek finished his playing career with the Miami Dolphins in 1986.
All right. Lastly, on today's show, upcoming events calendar. Sunday, February 4th, the Pro Bowl games in Orlando. I won't be watching, I don't think. Sunday, February 11th, Super Bowl 58 in Las Vegas. Saturday, March 16th, the Indoor Football League season begins. Saturday, March 30th, the UFL season kicks off with a game between the Birmingham Stallions and the Arlington Renegades. April 25th through the 27th, the NFL Draft in Detroit. Also, April 27th, the 33rd season of the Arena Football League is set to begin.
Wow. A
So,
lot of stuff coming, but
yep.
between that Super Bowl on the 11th and then March 16th when the Indoor Football League season begins, we're going to have a nice little gap there.
Yeah, we're going to take some time off.
We keep saying that at the end of every show now. It's, oh, I can't wait for that gap. I mean, it's going to be something. Like, I mean, and I don't want to get too far ahead, but if a team that we happen to love very dearly ends up playing in that big game at the end of the season, I will not say the words out loud in this in a sentence. You get what I'm getting at. Who knows how emotionally draining that would be, and we probably need that sort of break to just comprehend if that were to happen. We'll see. It's, anything can happen in the playoffs, but
Win or lose, that would be emotionally draining.
yeah. So
we need some time to.
I just think it's nice when we do get that little break. It was nice that one year we did it.
Yeah,
Was it
about
last
2 years
year?
ago, we took 5 weeks off the entire month of March.
Yeah.
There were 5 Tuesdays that month, and we
Yeah.
I reorganized this man cave,
Well,
and
you say
it looks worse than it did before that.
It does. Yeah. I hate to see you organize it even more.
Yeah, I need another bookshelf. I've gotten more books than I've got shelves for, and I need to do so. I might put a bookshelf outside the man cave here, out in the foyer, and we'll see. But yeah, I've got some other projects I want to work on. Got some articles I want to write, and I just haven't done that. So I'm gonna work on some other projects before we get back into the weekly grind of the podcast, which it's not a grind. We love doing it. But yeah, they just I got pictures I want to get up on the wall, and just
I mean, that takes
things
no
to
time. I
rearrange.
could do it right now on air. Let's do it.
Put that hammer down. All right. Anything that's come over your phone before?
No, it doesn't look like there's any breaking news.
No Harbaugh
I mean,
signing.
one story we didn't have on the main show that I do want to just quickly throw out there was the Saints letting go a long-time offensive coordinator there with the team. Offensive coordinator Pete Carmichael, he's been there in New Orleans for 15 seasons as the offensive coordinator. I had never heard of the dude. Obviously, I'm not a Saints fan, so I'm not as familiar with everybody on the Saints staff. But being an offensive coordinator and being in one place for 15 years, that's through the Sean Payton era. That's through the year that he was, kind of out for Bounty Gate.
Right.
And now he's, with the new coach there, whose name I'm blanking on, but it's impressive to be there in a place in the NFL for 15 seasons and not be a head coach. That's pretty big deal.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, you see athletic trainers or whatever for teams forever, but a coordinator, that just seems odd. But unfortunately, they're moving on.
Okay. All right. Well, that's it for this week. If you learned something during this podcast about the incredible amount of diversity that exists in the world of football, then we've done our job. Visit our website at theworldoffootball.com for news, links, upcoming events, original articles, videos, and more. Our email address is info@theworldoffootball.com.
You can follow The World of Football on Facebook, X, and Instagram. Just look for TWOF Kalamazoo on all 3 of those platforms. New episodes of this podcast are posted on Tuesdays and are available on SoundCloud, Apple Podcasts, TuneIn, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and Amazon Music, so you can simply ask your Alexa device to play the World of Football podcast to hear us on whatever Alexa devices you may have. You can also find the full audio version of this show over on our YouTube channel. Just search YouTube for the World of Football Kalamazoo or use the handle @the World of Football in the YouTube search bar. Please go over there, subscribe, spread the word, rate, review, give us a like, leave us a comment. We love interacting with all the comments. Let us know what you think, and please come be a part of the football conversation. There's been a few interesting comments that have come through. A lot of fans of different fan bases, and obviously all the regulars that comment after our weekly picks.
It's funny how all of a sudden somebody will find a history lesson video that we did 6-8 months ago, and they're making a comment on that.
Yeah,
we even forgot doing it.
See one 2 hours ago. Yeah, we just got a comment about the history of the USFL video we did. That's the beauty of doing those type of videos, is those are ones that can sit there and people can discover us that way.
Right.
And then we also try to stay current with our NFL pick stuff. That's why we're debating on doing some sort of frequent arena football show, because we seem to get a lot of people who like arena football and have found us that way. So again, open to suggestions, people. Like, if there's something you think, hey, we should give something a try, I'm open to trying some sort of type of video. Like, we already got picks for the NFL. Like, should we do something else? Like, I don't know. We got ideas. It's just, what do you guys want to see or hear?
Yeah. Well, speaking of some of our old videos, we did one, almost a year ago, I think, where I talked about the 5 books that you need to read.
Yeah.
And one of them was War on the Floor by Jeff Foley. Jeff Foley just posted a comment saying, thanks for including my book. And I really enjoyed that book. Being an arena football fan, it's one of the only books written about the Arena Football League, where he did like a George Plimpton thing where he was actually on the team and got into a game or two. I think he caught one pass or something. But it was just fascinating, how they lived, where they lived, how they practiced and all that. It was great behind the scenes look at arena football, which we love so much. So thank you, Jeff, for writing the book. I just wanted to include that one because I think a lot of people should read that.
Yeah.
And that was the whole reason behind that video. And we're closing in on 700 YouTube subscribers. I think we've got 689.
Well, we are
right
at 690 as of right now.
690,
As I pull up the app. So
so get that graphic ready for 700. It could be in the next day or so.
Yeah.
We'll top 700.
Because I think we ended last year on oh crap, how many did we have to end the year?
We got 200 subscribers back last February. So
no, we started this year at 667.
This year.
We started this year at 667, and we've already added 23 subscribers, and we are only barely 2 weeks into the year. So, I mean, it's fun. I'm having a good time interacting with fans, and I think Cringe, frequent commenter, said, he was happy for us. He was a little disappointed about his Cowboys, and I had to tell him, sorry, man, we are not sad that the Cowboys lost that game.
I think he knows that we're not Cowboy fans,
Yeah.
but I don't have a problem with people being a Cowboys fan,
No,
especially if you're in
I have
Texas.
friends that are Cowboys fans.
Yeah,
It's just, you know what? It's just the media,
not my cup of tea.
the mainstream media. Just like when we were trying to watch Lions highlights, even though it shows we don't like, we just want to hear people finally talk about Detroit because we finally won a playoff game. And like, even as much as I don't like Skip Bayless and I don't like the undisputed format and all that, I sat there and I was like, I want to hear what they got to say. Let's hear them. Let's hear them eat crow.
Right.
Hours of just them talking about the Cowboys. It's just like they're the team that lost.
Yeah.
And you're not talking about the teams that won.
Right.
You're not even talking about how the Packers were good. You're talking about everything the Cowboys failed at.
Right.
That is the problem with the mainstream media. And I'm sorry. I'm going to say it. I'll always say it. The Cowboys are no longer America's team.
They never have been.
They're the team America loves to hate.
They are.
And you know who America's team is right now, Dad? Do I even have to hint at you or point at your shirt and tell you who that team is that is America's team right now?
The Detroit Lions.
You're darn tootin'. It is.
All right. Hey, remember, folks, some people may love football more than we do, but nobody, and I mean nobody, loves more football than the two of us sitting here in Kalamazoo. Until next time, when we'll try and do a better job, don't hold your breath. I'm Randy Snow.
And if anybody wants to give us tickets to go to that Lions Buccaneers game this weekend, drop a comment.
If you got a couple you can't use, let us know.
Oh, boy. We take them.
We'll see you all next week.